Welcome and thank you all very much for coming to the 1996 edition of the induction ceremony into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. My name is Lynn Soucy, and I have the pleasure of serving the Maine Federation of Business and Professional Women as their president this year. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very excited to be about to participate in another very fine ceremony honoring women who have done a lot for the opportunities and lives of other Maine women. On behalf of the Maine Federation, I would like to deliver the gratitude of the entire Federation to Sally Ann Parks for once again organizing this event and bringing us all together. I would also like to extend my thanks to the University of Maine at Augusta and to Dr. Thomas Abbott for allowing us the use of this fine facility. And I would like to present to you Dr. Abbott.
Good snowy afternoon. Welcome to the University of Maine at Augusta and UMA's Learning Resources Center, our library, but also the home of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. I bring you greetings and a warm UMA welcome from the President of UMA, Chuck McRoy, and the faculty and staff. UMA is delighted to play a small role in honoring not only the inductees in the Hall of Fame, but all of the women of Maine for their incredible contributions to our lives and our communities. To Liz Crandall and the friends and family representing Marti Stevens, let me add a special welcome and congratulations from all of us. This is your day.
Thank you very much, Lynn Soucy and Tom Abbott, for extending greetings as co-sponsors of this event. Welcome to everyone who has joined us here today for the 7th Annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Some people weren't able to attend and have asked me to extend their regrets and greetings. First of all, I would like to give some notes from Gilda Nardone, who is a previous inductee. She's sorry that she's not able to attend as she will be out of state. Quote, I am very pleased with the selection of the 2 women being honored this year. I have long admired Liz Crandall's quiet and steadfast activism on behalf of women's rights in Maine and beyond. For many years, I had the privilege of working with Marti Stevens and miss her enthusiasm, energy, and commitment to lifelong learning. Both women are well-deserving of inclusion in the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Thanks again to the Maine Federation of Business and Professional Women and the University of Maine at Augusta for continuing the tradition of honoring Maine women for their contributions on behalf of women and girls in the state. A letter from Congressman John Baldacci. He thanked us for the invitation to the event, but unfortunately he had a previous commitment and would be unable to join us. Senator William Cohen thanked us for the invitation, but he already had commitments scheduled. He hoped that this would be a very successful event, and please accept his best wishes. Governor Angus King wasn't able to attend, and he did send a letter that he asked to be read. I am very pleased to recognize Liz Crandall and the late Marti Stevens for their respective contributions to women's issues in Maine. I wish you all the best for the celebration on March 2nd and apologize for missing it. Liz Crandall's work as a home economist, feminist, author, dean, professor, environmentalist, and citizen activist have made a notable impact on the lives of women throughout Maine. And the statewide legacy of Marti Stevens' work for alternative education, homeless, literacy, theater, humanitarian issues continue to merit attention. Both will remain models for future generations as we continue to work for a better Maine. My wife, Mary J. Herman, and I send our best regards and appreciation to both these individuals and their families for the sacrifices made in support of this cause. Thanks for the invitation. Sincerely, Angus S. King, Jr., Governor. A letter from Senator Olympia Snowe. I am pleased to join with you in honoring this year's inductees in the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, Elizabeth Crandall and the late Marti Stevens. Both of these individuals are outstanding examples to women everywhere. We all value Maine for its pristine environment in which we live and the economic opportunity it brings through travel and tourism. Liz Crandall, without a doubt, has contributed to the maintenance of a strong Maine environment through her relentless efforts. From her work on the Brunswick Recycling Committee to serving for the American Association of University Women as representative to the New England Energy Task Force, Liz has been tireless in her efforts on behalf of the environment. As if that were not enough, Liz has been a leader in women's issues by advocating for services and legislation relating to domestic violence and reproductive freedom. Liz has raised awareness on all these issues and been a strong, independent voice for women. Education is the key to success in our society. The enthusiasm and energy for which Marti Stevens was so well known produced a multitude of achievements in that field. Maine has been the primary beneficiary of Marti's efforts, which include the founding of various organizations like Educational Skills Incorporated, Cornville Academy, and Crossroads, as well as directing Somerset County Basic Education and authoring curriculum for the Literacy Advocacy Program, which is used throughout Maine. Perhaps one of the most remarkable achievements in the program is the Training for Tomorrow, developed in conjunction with other Maine programs and replicated by the state of Maine for use today. We are saddened that she is no longer with us in person, but in spirit she will be with us always through her gifts to education and her legacy of leadership. Carolyn, you must be truly honored to attend this induction ceremony today on behalf of your late sister. Again, please accept my sincere congratulations to you, Liz, and to you, Carolyn, on behalf of your sister, Marti. The Maine Women's Hall of Fame has done a great service in recognizing these two outstanding women. And now, another person who had planned to be here, Daniel McCormick, has asked Joanne D'Angelo to read some comments from hers. Would Joanne please come forward?
Liz. Dear Liz, I can think of no more deserving woman to induct into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame than you. You have been an inspiration to me and hundreds of Maine women, and we thank you for your tireless quest on our behalf for women's equality. Liz, you are the essential ingredient of any successful movement. You are a bridge. Since I've known you, you've been a conduit of information and understanding between those in the traditional women's movement and the new generations of feminists. Not unlike the bridges over many Maine's rivers, you've weathered some rough storms and endured tough times. Luckily for us, you understand the crucial importance of your role and you have persevered. Without you as our bridge, we would not be moving forward, we would not be exploring new territories, and we would not be celebrating new victories. I'm thrilled you've been chosen for such a high honor, and I'm very sorry that I cannot be with you at this celebration. Thank you so much for all your support of me over the years, but most of all, thank you from all the women for whom you have been such an inspiring example and leader.
Thank you very much for that, for Liz. Again this year, we would also like to recognize women who were nominated but not selected for induction into the 7th Annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame. These women are being recognized for their outstanding contributions to improving opportunities for Maine women, because it is an honor itself to be nominated for this award. I will ask either the person nominated or the person who made the nomination of the woman to please come forward to receive the recognition. First, Shirley K. Richard of Madison. Is there anyone here for the Women's Legislative Council, Glenn Carter, Treasurer? She has her B.S. from Hudson College, Master's in Education from the University of Maine at Orono, and Honorary Doctorate of Education from Hudson College. She has served as President of the Maine Federation of Women's Club and the current President of the Women's Legislative Council of Maine. She was a high school teacher for 30 years and served 5 years as a member of the State Board of Education. Last November, she was elected to the Maine House of Representatives. I will send that to her. Donna Stickler of Augusta, is she here? If you'd like to, okay, so I can just tell a little bit about you. You were nominated by the Augusta Area Rape Crisis Center, Betty Morangs, Support Service Coordinator Advocate. You're Executive Director of the Augusta Rape Crisis Center. On a statewide level, you've been a member of the Maine Coalition Against Sexual Assault. In this capacity, you have worked closely with the legislature lobbying for many bills such as the Stalker Bill, a notification bill, and most recently the bill for increased funding for Maine Coalition Against Sexual Assault, which means the opening of 2 satellite centers, one in York County and one in Knox-Waldo County. Not only have you advocated for these centers, but you've been asked by the state to be in charge of one as well. This is a significant recognition for outstanding contributions to improving opportunities for Maine women. To Donna Stickler, in honor of your nomination to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Thank you very much. Now that we are done with the preliminaries, we will move along to the program. And if you look at your program, you will notice that the Maine Women's Hall of Fame is dedicated to women who have made an outstanding contribution to improving opportunities for all Maine women. The induction ceremony is in observance of Women's History Month. We will now have presentations as part of the program. First of all will be for Elizabeth Crandall, who is on my immediate right, and Charlene Thompson, the President-elect of AAUW, Jean Hammond, past President of AAUW of Maine, Sue Ranger, past President of the Bath Brunswick AAUW, and Betty Jane Meader, the College University Chair of AAUW of Maine. And for Marti Stevens, who is represented by her sister Carolyn Stephen McKinney, Penny McGovern, Director of the Marti Stevens Learning Center, Joyce Savage, Lakewood Theater, Bob Crosder, Coordinator, Adult Basic Education, and Maxine Rusikoff, past President of DPW Maine. We'll now ask each of you to come forward and give your presentations.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to come here to honor Elizabeth W. Crandall, home economist and feminist, as her business cards read. This is far too modest. The roles of author, dean, professor emerita, environmentalist, and citizen activist should also be printed under Liz's name. The American Association of University Women of Maine are proud that this competent, creative, special person is being recognized for the accomplishments and contributions that she has made to her adopted state. Her life has spanned the major developments of industrial America. Her activities have dealt with addressing some of the problems of that industrialization. Liz was born in Kansas in 1914 to parents who believed that their 5 daughters could do anything for which they were qualified. All 5 daughters were college educated, and Liz chose to stay in academia for all of her professional life. Liz earned her bachelor's and her master's degrees from Kansas State College, where she specialized in family economics and resource management. She pursued her interests in the foundations of education, Human Relations and Conflict Resolution at Boston University, where she earned her doctorate. During Liz's many years as professor of home economics, she co-authored a widely used textbook that went through 4 editions and was organized in the beginning around the concept of home management as a process, with steps which involve decision-making and values, and later as a system involving families and the larger community. Liz was the first woman elected to chair the Faculty Senate at the University of Rhode Island, and ended her professional life as Dean of the university's College of Home Economics. She is now Professor Emerita. But the most impressive thing about Liz's professional life is that it was the perfect foundation for the life she has built and the work she has done here in Maine. And her move to Maine, Liz has often said, was one of the best decisions that she and her husband ever made. For it was here in Maine that Liz was able to utilize her pre-retirement expertise in resource management, in conflict resolution, in economics, family health, and women's issues, in her chosen roles as an environmentalist and as a citizen activist. Liz's role as citizen activist exists at various levels. On a very personal, nurturing level, she is mentor and adopted mother to a Cambodian refugee woman who escaped both the horrors of Pol Pot's ethnic purification in Cambodia and the lawless degradations of the Thai refugee camps. Upon this woman's arrival in Maine, Liz assisted her and her family through immigration and, most importantly, surrounded her with love. Liz held her hand during the birth of her daughter and became a grandmother to this child and to the child's older siblings. To escape what to Cambodians is unbearable cold, Liz's adopted family moved to Florida, and twice a year, Liz flies down to visit them and to provide emotional and practical support for her family. On a more widespread advocacy-based level, Liz's roles as citizen activist for the women of Maine has led her to advocate for services and legislation in the areas of discrimination, reproductive freedom, and teen pregnancy. Her activities in her hometown of Brunswick have served as models for environmental action. Liz has exercised leadership at various levels in the American Association of University Women. Other speakers will be providing you with some of the specifics of these activities that make Liz Crandall truly a leader in the movement to improve the physical, emotional, social, and political environment for the women of Maine.
I wore my highest heels, too. One of the challenging aspects of serving as president of any organization is that of choosing specific members to direct committee activities. An error in judgment might result in a totally inactive or ineffective committee for that term. As I prepared for my 2-year presidency of the American Association of University Women of Maine, I reviewed the importance of our various committees and tried to match members with appropriate assignments. With remarkable vision, my choice to direct our Legal Advocacy Fund program was Elizabeth Crandall. Happily, Liz accepted, and a previously slow-moving program became vital and effective. To understand the significance of Liz's accomplishments for the Legal Advocacy Fund, LAF, it's important to know that the American Association of University Women, AAUW, is a national organization with a very long history of working for equity for women. For over 100 years, members all over the country have contributed generously to the foundation, an arm of AAUW that supports scholarships, fellowships, grants, and educational awards. The Legal Advocacy Fund is really the new kid on AAUW's block. Founded in 1981 as a result of and to offer support for the Cornell 11, a group of women faculty members who initiated litigation against Cornell on the grounds of gender discrimination. The LAF also works to achieve equity for women in higher education by recognizing innovative efforts to improve the climate for women on campus. In 1987, the LAF established a network of volunteer attorneys and social scientists who are available to consult with women who have grievances against higher education institutions and with attorneys litigating sex discrimination lawsuits. Of course, it takes time for a new cause to build its support in the organization. This organization has traditionally supported education. Litigation was a new aspect to absorb and adopt. While all AAUW members support equity in theory, unfortunately, that generic support sometimes hesitates when one's own college becomes a defendant and controversy becomes an unwelcome reality. So for various reasons, financial contributions for the LAF are yet to become as generous as those for the foundation. In Maine, then, Liz took on a project that had had little support in earlier years. Her determination to make LAF a high priority created one of the most positive successes of our 1992-94 years in AAUW of Maine. Liz hit the ground running. She wrote articles for our state newsletter, sent letters to branch presidents, provided speakers for meetings, reminded the state president, me, of her responsibilities, and assembled attractive baskets of enticing Maine products for raffles at statewide events. Liz even worked beyond the state borders, bringing a litigant from New York State to a New England regional conference to discuss the compelling reasons for her lawsuit and the benefits of her support from the LAF. Liz simply would not allow us to ignore the Legal Advocacy Fund. For each of the 2 years Liz coordinated our LAF efforts, we successfully met a national challenge. In fact, we went over. Our main contributions increased dramatically in Liz's first year as chair, from $568 to $1,995 in the next year, an increase that could not be contributed to an increase in membership. For the first time ever, contributions to LAF were made by every AAUW branch in Maine. At the 1993 National Convention in Minneapolis, Liz was among a small group of LAF chairs honored for their achievements. During Liz's watch, we had an actual LAF-supported lawsuit in Maine, a litigation with personal ramifications for me. A member of my own branch brought suit against my own college. It was a time of soul-searching, a situation of conflicting loyalties, and it required a decision that only I could make for myself. Finally, I had to believe in the integrity of our member, the reliability of AAUW's research, and the positive views expressed by Liz Crandall. I abandoned my neutrality and spoke up in support of our LAF litigant. Liz is a positive and courageous role model for me. For AAUW Maine and the LAF, Elizabeth Crandall was in the best possible position for action during the most appropriate time, and she created a real success story for herself and for us. Liz was a good choice for this challenge, and I appreciate the opportunity to say thank you, Liz.
I'm Sue Ranger from Brunswick, past president of the local branch of AAUW. I would like to mention that Liz was our LAF chairman too. We had to say, enough, Liz, enough. She sicked on everyone, and it was a wonderful year. She had a basket at every meeting, but finally we decided that rather than have one at every single meeting and have her hanging on the legs of visitors, we would ask that the branch offer a certain level of support if she failed to meet her goal. But she always made it anyway. When political philosopher Alexei de Tocqueville was asked in 1835 to what the prosperity and growing strength of the American people ought to be attributed, he replied, the superiority of their women. This would not be a surprise to Liz, who was created in the mold of those strong Kansas pioneer women and is as independent of thought and strong of purpose as the best of them. Her life reflects their best qualities. Within weeks of arriving in her retirement destination of Brunswick in 1979, she had voted for a curbside recycling program, had gotten herself appointed as a charter member of the new Brunswick Recycling Committee, and had been elected to the chairmanship. She served for 3 years in that role, in that capacity, and then 3 more as a member, working to develop a program which was to be a model for other towns. The League of Women Voters became another avenue for her talent and energy. She was on numerous committees, held the presidency for a term, and remained on the board until her 80th birthday. I suggest that she actually wimped out at age 80. The work of the National Organization for Women was another organization which profited from her support and participation. Liz became active in St. Paul's Episcopal Church almost immediately and was soon elected to serve on the vestry, the governing board of the church. She was part of the search committee, which was responsible for bringing the current rector, Jonathan Appleyard, to Brunswick. When the church sponsored a Cambodian family which had escaped the horror of Pol Pot's regime and the continued nightmare of the Thai refugee camps, Liz was on hand to help guide them through the immigration process. She became a mentor and adopted mother to the wife and a grandmother to the children, one of whom was born after their arrival in Brunswick. She has continued her active care and concern for them even after they departed for Florida to settle in a climate more hospitable for those raised in the tropics. In fact, she returned just yesterday from a trip to visit this family. She is currently working on the community aspect of the local library expansion. Liz is blessed with a strong constitution, but she has made it a point to practice what she studies and preaches by caring for her own health. She has been in the Running Start program for years and by dint of firm discipline became very trim a few years ago and continues to maintain her fitness. I've remarked on this in the past. It's always been a source of some irritation to me that an 82-year-old woman can look better in stretch pants than I can. My guess is that you can see a pattern here of a woman who has lived both her life and her retirement years to the fullest, who has given of herself tirelessly to ensure that her chosen community and the state will be better for her having lived here, who has carried the torch for women of all ages so their lives may reflect their abilities and desires and will not be confined by convention or the expectations of others. A person who has exhibited her religious commitment in loving and nurturing and advocating for those in need. There is a wonderful poem by Jenny Joseph called Warning, which has a line which reads, "When I am an old woman, I shall wear purple with a red hat, which doesn't go and doesn't suit me." We haven't yet seen Liz in purple with a red hat learning to spit, but if we do, we will know then that she is an old woman, and we will continue to respect her and thank her for her contributions to all of us. And I have a little gift that I found that I thought was perfect for Liz. The title of the book is called Uppity Women of Ancient Times. And may I say that this is given in the nicest sense of the word uppity.
remarkable, gracious, inspiring, generous. These are just a few of the words that describe Liz Crandall. Of all the women I know in Maine, she is the one I admire and respect the most. I have known and observed her in two organizations, the American Association of University Women and her professional organization, the Maine Association of Family and Consumer Sciences, formerly the Home Economics Association. For 9 years, she served as the legislative chair of the Maine Home Economics Association and represented the organization on the Women's Legislative Agenda Coalition, known as WELAC, and the Maine Choice Coalition, her entree to vital networks. Liz was instrumental in creating her own networks. She created a telephone tree to inform members about important legislation related to Maine families. When I was awakened at 6:30 a.m. by the sound of the telephone ringing, I knew it was Liz calling me. She was clearly our legislative conscience. During one 2-year period, she served as the legislative chair for both AAUW and MHEA. At the end of that term, however, she asked to be relieved of the AAUW position, saying, and I quote, "It became a problem to know which hat I was wearing." Liz was always prepared to testify on family and choice bills, and she and Carolyn Drugi arranged hearings for 2 significant bills. One bill made possible the availability of school-related child care to enable young mothers to complete their high school education. It passed. The second bill requested that every high school in Maine offer a course in parenting. Although it was widely supported by legislators, the bill was deemed a mandate requiring state funds, and the Appropriations Committee rejected it. Yet, her influence endures. Liz is like a candle. She provides continuous and steady light. At a reception honoring the Maine Home Economics Teachers of the Year for the past 20 years, she was impressed with the recipients' comments about the meaningfulness of the award. And my sister was one of those recipients. Consequently, she and her husband Bob made a major gift to the American Association of Family and Consumer Sciences Foundation's Teacher of the Year Fund. And thanks to them, it is now a stipend-producing fund, which assures that deserving family and consumer sciences educators receive state awards. Today, her flame still glows. Like the Energizer Bunny, Liz keeps going and going. She continues to be a citizen activist, receiving no pay and no fanfare. Her reward, the betterment of Maine women. And thus today, we proudly recognize this remarkable, energetic woman, Dr. Elizabeth W. Crandall. I'd like to have her open. May your flame continue to glow. Does that give you a hint? And I want to tell you that I was informed that this was created by a man as young as she is.
I buried it.
It's a candle. It's by a Maine artist.
Beautiful.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation on Elizabeth Crandall. And now if you could have my esteems.
Good afternoon. My name is Penny McGovern, and I'm the director of the Marti Stevens Learning Center, formerly known as Crossroads, and director of Teens and Theaters, Skowhegan Area High School's improvisational theater group. Both were founded by an incredible woman, and it is my extreme pleasure to speak on her behalf today. Marti Stevens was initially involved in teaching and theater in New York City. In 1969, needing to escape the rat race, she lined up a teaching position here in Maine, which she soon lost after a serious car accident. Desperate and living on zucchini and welfare, her caseworker set her up tutoring other welfare recipients who needed job retraining. Thus, around her kitchen table, Cornville Academy was born. Marti branched out into adult education. With the help of state funding, Somerset County Basic Skills Program was started as a literacy and GED program for local adults. Crossroads for Women was established on the grounds of Lakewood Theater with funds from a 3-year Carl Perkins grant and a core group of 5 single mothers who had dropped out of high school. In 1987, the school went on to win a national award in the area of sex equity for providing an outstanding program for young women. Crossroads for Women eventually grew and moved to downtown Skowhegan, along with the Somerset County Basic Skills Program. In 1988, Marti was approached by then Superintendent of Schools, Lita Young, and asked if she was interested in becoming a co-educational alternative program for at-risk high school students in District 54. Marti agreed, and with 20 students and a staff of 4, Crossroads for Women became Crossroads Learning Center, and one of the state's first alternative programs was established. Marti had the ability to motivate just about everyone. The word can't wasn't in her vocabulary. She wouldn't accept it for herself, and she held others to that same high standard. More than one person learned that saying no to Marti was like waving a red flag in front of a bull. Her powers of persuasion were limitless. I myself learned this lesson the hard way. In the fall of 1988, I was employed at another school district. I had worked for Marti the previous spring, teaching and testing unemployed mill workers during my maternity leave. Marti called me and offered me the position of head teacher at Crossroads. Having already signed a contract, I declined her offer. She asked that I at least come and speak to her in person about the job. Now, those of you who knew Marti knew that saying no to her on the phone was one thing, but in person, it was impossible. By the time I left her office, there was no way that I could have returned to a public high school. In just half an hour, Marti had instilled in me such an enthusiasm for alternative education that anything besides her program seemed dull. Under her leadership, Crossroads continued to blossom. At the same time, Marti also had her fingers in many other pots. They included Lakewood Theater and the Maine Adult Literacy Program, both of which are still highly successful. She worked teaching part-time at the University of Maine at Farmington and as a partner in Educational Skills Incorporated, a computer-based training program for area adults. In 1982, Marti, using funds provided by Kennebec Valley Community Action Program, created Teens in Theater. Today, Teens in Theater is extremely successful and through its performances, finances itself. Marti's unexpected death in 1993 left a great void in our hearts and the educational community. However, the staff and students of the Marti Stevens Learning Center were determined to continue her legacy, and we still exist today with a staff of 8 and 50-plus students. With the support of district administrators, school board members, and the hard work of the Skowhegan Area Vocational School, we also have a new building which we have dedicated in her memory. In closing, I wish to express to you how incredibly pleased and proud I am that Marti is receiving this award today. She was a woman with many talents and great enthusiasm. At her graveside service, as I said my final goodbye, I told Marti that she had changed my life. I feel that this is her greatest legacy. She lived her life to change and improve the lives of other people she met. She was indeed, as someone once described her to me, the Queen of Somerset County. Thank you.
I am Joyce Savage, and I am representing the Lakewood Theater, and I was asked to read this about Marti. I have a lot of comments about Marti and a lot of thoughts, but this is what I'm supposed to present. Marti Stevens was the soul and stage intelligence of Lakewood Theater, the State Theater of Maine, from 1985 to 1993, when she was artistic director. She directed 44 plays and left an indelible gift on all those who she guided. Before Lakewood, Marti began her main stage career as co-founder and director of the Conville Players, a community theater group which performed for more than 10 years in tiny Crandall, Marti's adopted town. An actress with experience on New York City stages, Marti came to Maine to be a teacher and a farmer. She became an inspiration for thousands of people far beyond Crandall, Lakewood, and Maine. While her achievement on the Lakewood stage is memorial, her greater success was in the people she touched, changed, and made better. Marti was a partner in the nonprofit corporation Curtain Up Enterprises, which operated Lakewood Theater for 5 years, and then in 1990 purchased the 90-year-old building. She put up her personal cash and took the risk that live theater could survive and flourish in central Maine. The growing audiences, the restored structure, and grounds of Lakewood today are concrete testaments to Marti's vision and courage. But even the improved sills and painted clapboards, the patched roof, and enhanced stage equipment of Lakewood are small marks compared to the lasting memory actors, stagehands, technicians, painters, and costumers have of Marti. As one actor put it, she really got under my skin. In some contexts, you might think that was a negative feeling. With Marti, it was one of the greatest compliments. It meant that as a director, mentor, and guide, she was having an effect. She loved to see the actor, and in this context, we should say actress, change while they created the character in the play script. Marti certainly knew that the play was the thing. She also knew that an act of creativity would alter the individual performing the play. So many people have said their Lakewood experience with Marti provided a fulcrum that launched their lives into a better and more fulfilling direction. Marti's greatness as a person was her nearly inexhaustible compassion and kinetic understanding of the character in the play and the person acting the character. As others here will say about Marti, theater was just one part of her complex life. Theater in general, and Lakewood Theater was always her fondest love. By voting her into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, you have placed Marti in a spotlight that she eminently deserves. And no, you never said no to Marti.
Hi, my name's Bob Kratzer. I work for the Department of Education. And I am truly honored to present a tribute to Marti Stevens upon her induction into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Marti was a friend, a colleague, director, and a mentor. Today, many of Marti's accomplishments, and you've heard about many of them, still are alive, still flourish through the hands of us and others whom she collaborated with in her work. I would like to talk about Marty's accomplishments with regard to adult education and literacy, awareness, improvisational theater. I'll have to repeat some of Penny's comments, but here goes. She came to Maine as a back to the lander in the late 60s, bought a farm in Cornville. It wasn't too long after that Marty started tutoring adults who sought basic skill instruction and GED. Her success drew on her entrepreneurial spirit, and Cornville Academy was born. Some years later, she became involved with the Somerset County Basic Skills Program, which ran out of the school district in Skowhegan. Marty became director of that program, and part of my job was to visit, monitor programs that were funded by the department. And one of my first visits with Marty, I said, this is the night I can come, are you going to be available? And she says, yes, I'm available, but I'm busy. I could set up the meetings with the tutors, but I said, I'm going to need some time to speak with you alone. She says, okay, if you want that, you'll have to come up to the farm. And it's because she had chores to do. So, okay, I made the appointment, and I drove into her farm. It took me a while to find it, but I drove into the yard, and there were all these animals in the back. You know, I parked my car, and then I went to the house, no answer there, and I could hear cows mooing and classical music coming out of the barn. And I waded through the honking geese and the cackling chickens and found my way into the barn and the milking parlor. And there Marty was sitting in her knee-high boots milking a cow. And she says, okay, what is it that you want to talk about? And so that was my introduction to Marty Stevens. And also at that time, it hasn't been mentioned, that Marty was the plumbing inspector for the town of Cornwall. Teaching adults became one of Marty's passions. The Somerset County program grew with the establishment of the Learning Center on Water Street in Skowhegan. Marty, in collaboration with a lot of other people, developed a lot of other programs, in particular the one that Penny referred to, the Crossroads program, which received the U.S. Department of Education Award of Excellence. Marty and other adult educators were also involved with the two other states, Vermont and New Hampshire, in organizing a conference, an annual conference. And at this conference, we were concerned with the issue of literacy and how to create awareness and public awareness. And we said, is there some other way we can do it than through the traditional media, posters and so forth? And Marty had already started the Teens in Theater program. She says, well, why don't we do the interactive theater just as we do with the Teens in Theater? We can do it. And so we started out with untrained actors. In the improvisational interactive theater, it's important that people who do the acting have experienced in the areas that are usually the subject of the scenario. And so here we are, adult educators learning to be actors. It was quite a process for me. But at any rate, the Northern New England Social Action Theater was born, and also soon afterwards, the Maine Literacy Awareness Theater. Marty teamed up with Lorinda Mead from Portland and the Project Literacy US campaign, and the Maine Literacy Awareness Theater flourished. We trained well over 40 people and went all over the state of Maine, audiences from anywhere from 10 to 100 people, where we created scenarios and interacted with the audience around these scenarios. Lorinda and Marty also developed and produced 2 videos of the theater process, which are still in use by teachers in tutor training activities. As a result, of a grant written by Dorothy Oliver and Art Ellison from New Hampshire, the Northern New England Social Action Theater went on the road nationally. And as a result of that program, Marti directed the group in 76 performances in 41 states. Yet she was still doing all these other things at the same time. Marti did follow-up training in 25 of the states, and 13 states currently have their own operating theater group. Over the 8 years, we had a pool of over 75 people to choose from. Marti had her hands full. The group played with groups from anywhere from 20 to 600. I happened to be in that 600 group. There was a national conference in Phoenix, Arizona. And we had microphones all over the place. And it was an exciting process to see that many people getting involved with the players on stage. And Marti, interactive improvisational process was a solid one. She was a master at drawing out the audience on the issues. The issues we dealt with were unemployment and literacy, domestic violence, sexual harassment, and AIDS. You know, there weren't very popular issues, but the scenarios would get people emotionally involved. And Marti would get the people involved with us on the stage to try to solve some of the problems that were created up there on the stage. Through the Learning Center in Skowhegan, Marti extended services to the communities, businesses, and to the Kennebec Valley Community Action Program, the Somerset County Jail, and other organizations. She was a major initiator in the Adult Homeless Education Network and the Maine Correctional Education Task Force. Today, Marti's programs still continue. Many of the people she hired continue to share her commitment to service and adult literacy programs. All these things, how's she doing? Marti is a strong, independent, full of self-confidence, and she was a doer. She believed in can-do, not can't-do. Marti built pathways, not fences. She believed in the power of the individual to do what they needed to do, and she showed her concern for them. Marti's success for students was shaped by the growth of their self-esteem and confidence. In the literacy theater, she had the confidence that we as untrained actors could make it happen. We were always surprised at it. How did we do it? Marti made you believe that you were more than you believed possible. Marti was a director with a magic that helped people grow. An interesting quote from Learn to Me from Portland. Marti's the only person that yelled at me and I took it. There was never any meanness to her direction. Marti had an intense interest about everything. She once stated that I can get people hooked on my enthusiasm. A friend of Marti's told me of her theater professor at the University of Missouri saying, Marti out-enthusiastic everyone in the class. Try to say that fast. This is a good place to mention that Marti had other interests in all the other things that we were talking about. She loved animals, farm, plants and flowers. She had a small greenhouse in her off her kitchen. She loved American Indian culture, art, and collected African masks, which she left to the university. Her collection was left to the University of Maine. Marti had vision. When ideas were presented to her, she had a wonderful sense of putting things together. She built her foundations deep and solid. Deep in terms of mission and goals to serve people. Solid in terms of people and resources to do the job. Today, her vision for people is present, as are the programs she built, her legacy to us. Marti lived every day to the fullest and thoroughly enjoyed life. She packed. She packed so much into 24 hours. Any of you who knew Marti can recall how busy she was all the time, whether she was in her office, her farm, on the road with the theater, at Lakewood, being a tourist. Always busy, always busy. She accepted life on its own terms and rejoiced in it. And we thank Marti for having blessed us with her presence. Thank you.
I'm Maxine Russakoff, Skowhegan past state president, and I want to thank the Skowhegan BPW for nominating Marti for this honor. I want to thank all of these presenters for presenting the story and the essence of Marti Stevens. She was a cyclone of enthusiasm, energy, and intelligence. The research into her life astounded me. I thought I knew Marti, but I couldn't believe all of the things I found out, and the warmth and the caring. It's just been a joy to share the stories and the memories, some laughter and tears with all of these friends and colleagues. And it's been great. One of the things that we haven't mentioned, she did a lot of grant writing that brought a lot of money into Maine for educational purposes. She worked with the incarcerated. She did a lot of work with Katie Cap, and I'm sure there are other places and things that I haven't written down. But Marti helped the people that needed to be helped. She met people at a very important stage in their lives and really deeply, deeply affected us. She was a visionary and a risk taker. She was a rainbow of caring, warmth, and strong commitment to helping others to a better life. She was non-traditional in her approach to life, a free spirit who enjoyed living each moment to the fullest, whether it was teaching, in the theater, travel, at the farm with her many animals, and certainly with her friends. And I'm going to stop a minute and tell us the story that I heard at lunch one day when we were talking about this. And it seems that if you ever been to Cornville in the spring, you'll know why everybody up there drives a rattle trap. Well, anyway, Marti had the usual Cornville cars, let's say. They probably have real good ones that they don't use on the Cornville roads. But anyway, Marti was teaching at the University of Maine in Farmington, and sometimes in the winter her car wouldn't start. So she'd drive over, and she'd leave it running while she taught her class. She had another key, and she came out and then drove home. But she didn't have any trouble with it starting at that point. But isn't that a wonderful story? There's also a quote from a chapter of Local Heroes by Bill Berkowitz of Massachusetts. And he featured Marti in one of the chapters of this Local Heroes book, and as a result of a note that he received from somebody that we do not know, but the note said, with the budget of a beggar, she has produced and directed scores of plays in the Cornville Town Hall and has done more to promote sensitivity, understanding, and good times than anyone I know. And also the town hall had been closed. Marti got this back into business. Marti's late February birthday is still observed by many of her friends, and they chose today to get together and observe it, and I think that's really neat. We have a short memorial tribute featuring lyrics
literacy advocacy that will give you a sense of Marti. It shows some of the art, the jewelry that she gathered as she traveled to unusual places. Some things at Cornville, some in New Mexico, where one day she had hoped to spend some of her retirement. The music is music that Marti selected to be used for her funeral. There is a very special poem written by Ann Tivell of Wellesley, Mass., a friend of Marti's for many decades. Ann wishes she could be here today, but she's in the midst of play presentations this weekend, and she knew Marti would understand. Marti made everyone a better person. We'll show you the video. Congratulations on this newest honor, Marti, and happy birthday. We do have some extra copies of the Skowhegan Voice, and I have them under my chair. I will make a correction. It says that Carolyn is Marti's daughter, and of course we know that she is her sister. And I also have a scrapbook that I'll put over here you may look at, but Carolyn will take it home.
Presenters for giving us such a fine idea of why both of these ladies are being honored here today. At this time, I would like Liz Crandall to please come forward to accept her certificate. I will read this so that people know. The Maine Federation of Business and Professional Women's Club and University of Maine at Augusta presents the 7th Annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame Award to Elizabeth Crandall, home economist, feminist, citizen activist, nominated by the American Association of University Women of Maine, signed by Lynn Soucy, president of BPW Maine, and Tom Abbott, Dean, Learning Resource and University Development, University of Maine at Augusta. And now, do you want to say that?
I am very deeply honored and very happy. I might say that I've had an awfully good time in doing the things that have been said about me today. And I have a great many people to thank. First, I'd like to thank the Maine Federation of Business and Professional Women and the University of Maine at Augusta for initiating and establishing the Maine Women's Halls of Fame. I know that one of the first questions that would come is, where would such a project be housed, located, and maintained? And the cooperation of the University of Maine at Augusta in setting the Hall of Fame in the state's capital city, I think has been a very happy solution, and I thank you both. You know, the trouble with cards, you wonder if you're in the right spot. I would like also to thank the members of the Maine Association of University, the American Association of University Women, for nominating me, and Kathy Cray for writing so skillfully the citation which earned me this award. I also would like to thank the members of the Maine Association of Family and Consumer Sciences, my major professional organization, the Brunswick Area League of Women Voters, the Brunswick chapter of the National Organization for Women, the Family Planning Association of Maine, and the Maine Women's Lobby, all of whom I'm members. These groups have challenged my thinking and given me the opportunity to take actions that I would not have had the courage or the public acceptance to do on my own. These organizations have also introduced me to the beauty and variety of Maine. I had my first fiddleheads at home. I heard Sherry Huber and Libby Mitchell speak on the same program at Bowdoin College's lovely Breckenridge Conference Center. I bought Micmac baskets in Presque Isle. I've become familiar with the University of Maine at Augusta, Farmington, Orono, Presque Isle, and Southern Maine. I've gone to conferences at Booth Bay Harbor, Tennant's Harbor, and the Samoset, to name a few. I saw Mount Katahdin from a roadside overlook, but I never saw it close up because, to the best of my knowledge, none of these organizations has had a conference there at Baxter Park. I want to thank all of you who have come to share the day with me. Some of you have been mentors, particularly in acquainting me with the political system in Maine. Some, because of your contributions to the women of Maine, might very well have been the nominee today instead of me. Some have gone far out of your way to make sure I got to meetings in the 2 or 3 years I was not able to drive at night because of cataract. Some are friends of, dear friends of long standing, a reason that I did not want to leave Rhode Island. But Khalil Gibran was right when he said in his essay on friendship in The Prophet, "When you part from your friend, you grieve not, for that which you love in him may be clearer in his absence, as the mountain to the climber is clearer from the plain." And these longtime friends have done more than their share in keeping contact with Bob and me. In the 16 plus years that we have lived in Maine, some of you have become longtime friends, and we continue to make new friends. I have learned that some people come into our lives and quickly go. Some stay a while, touch our hearts, and we are never, ever the same. Those are not my words. I think I got them from a greeting card, but they expressed my feelings. I'm the last of my generation in my family. It gives me great pleasure that my nephew, Stan Harrison, and his wife, Donna, of Oklahoma City, are here today. And that Amy Ford, my grandniece, who is a sophomore engineering student at Bucknell University, is here to represent her family who live on a ranch in Northern California. Her mother, Charlene Ford, is my niece. And I'm the reason that my second niece is not here today, because when she lives in Glen Cove, Long Island, and when she was hesitating about going to a reunion with 5 high school friends in Nevada, I urged her to go, and only later discovered that she'd already bought her ticket, and it was a non-refundable, and they were both this weekend. I wish to acknowledge my great debt to my family. Education was probably the top priority for both my parents. My mother's family moved from a farm into a college town in Kansas in order that the children could go stay at home, live at home, and go to college. My father, who was a highly respected businessman, never went to college. But he said to us, "I probably can't leave you much money, but if you have a good education, you can take care of yourself." And for 18 continuous years, at least one of us was in college. Other values that my family instilled in us, both by their example and by their comments on why they did certain things and didn't do certain other things, were a simple yet conventional lifestyle with never any attention to keeping up with the Joneses. Integrity. Willingness to take responsibility for one's own action. Service to one's community. Civic responsibility. And compassion for the less fortunate, done in a way that would not cause them to lose their self-respect. An example of that, for years we went to a dentist who had lost most of his practice because he had palsy. And I'll admit, the disease was sometimes nerve-wracking. But when the instrument touched the tooth, it never slipped. As far as civic responsibility, my family never discussed politics because their closest friends argued so bitterly. So we had to make up our own minds about for whom to vote. But we always were impressed with how important it was to vote. Mother was the peacemaker in our family. And we had many interesting discussions, yes, arguments, at dinner. And usually the answer was that one of us went to the dictionary, which was within just a few feet of the table, to find out how the word really was pronounced, what it really meant, and so forth. My greatest thanks go to my husband, Bob, because if it weren't for him, we wouldn't be retiring in Maine. We're as different as two people can be. And 20 years after our marriage, several frank people said to me they didn't think our marriage would last. Well, by that time, it had a good start. But I think one can say it is durable because we plan to celebrate our 50th anniversary in August. It's obvious that I'm a joiner and a meeting goer, and that Bob is not. But he doesn't fly, and he doesn't really enjoy traveling. But he keeps the home fires burning not only when I'm away, but all the time. He has many interests, ranging from classical music and from classical to Scott Joplin. He's a history buff, and he specializes in the Civil War and the trains, not only in Maine but all over the country, and the National Rifle Association. He's usually reading at least 3 or 4 books at the same time. As a social worker, primarily in a children's agency, his profession and mine have supported each other. We're both strong individuals, and we don't agree on many things. But he is as staunch a feminist as I am. And there, I think, lies the success of the secret of our success. Last, I want to thank the state of Maine for making this day possible. I've said I didn't want to move to Maine, but as has been said, we now admit that it was one of the best decisions we ever made. Had we stayed in Rhode Island, I would not have been doing the things for which I am being honored today. Politics in Rhode Island was so bad that I was never tempted to participate except to vote, even had I had time to do so. Since we had lived in a college community for many years, I did insist that we look for a college town. And we moved to Brunswick, which has been a very happy for us. I might say that I was always a bookish couch potato. And one of the things that has been wonderful in Brunswick is the Running Start Physical Fitness for Adults program. And Bob and I have both been in it, and it's been a wonderful way to keep fit. On the larger scale, I could scarcely believe the accessibility of one's legislators in Maine. In fact, one legislator said, call me either before 7 o'clock or after 10 o'clock. And so I got up to make more early morning calls. I was also impressed with the high proportion of women in the legislature. And further, to discover that there was an active government agency called the Maine Commission for Women, which unfortunately is now defunct, as well as the Maine Women's Lobby, a group that has a paid lobbyist working for the at the legislature on behalf of women and children. Both of these were a great and happy surprise. The Maine Women's Lobby, in the intervening years, has established a tax-exempt arm that has supported projects to help low-income women, and has recently done research on women who have been or are currently on welfare to determine why, when, and for how long these women have been on welfare or moved in and out of the welfare system. This has been very valuable information. Knowing that most of you are already members of one or two organizations, let me recommend to you that if you are looking for a new group to join and support financially, you consider the Maine Women's Lobby. To maintain a lobbyist, even at a modest salary, is a great challenge. And if you think this comment is inappropriate, please remember that I'm an activist. And all I can say is that I wish I had known Marti. As a matter of fact, I was visiting a friend who is kept at home by a broken ankle. A broken ankle. And I mentioned who the other person to be honored today was. It was Claire Leonard, who has been very active in literacy volunteers. And she said, of course I know her. But in closing, let me quote a quatrain that I used first, I think it was in 1957, at a Home Economics Honor Society. And I think that it is still appropriate to the goals of the American Association of University Women. Those goals are equity for women and girls, action for positive social change, diversity in its membership, and lifelong learning. The words, we have taken a tuck in time. We have put a pleat in space. If we are to live comfortably in this tight, old world, we must let out the seams of our thinking. Thank you very much.
The Maine Federation of Business and Professional Women's Club of the University of Maine at Augusta present the 7th Annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame Award to Marti Stephen, humanitarian, innovative educator, director of the program nominated by the Scholarly Business and Professional Women's Club. This is signed by Lynn Susie, President of BPW Maine, and Thomas Abbott, Dean of Learning Resource and University Development, University of Maine at Augusta. Would you like to make any comments?
On behalf of her family, we really want you to know how very thankful we are for this wonderful honor. I guess I don't need to tell you, Marti was always adventuresome and striking out and doing new things. Though she was born in the Midwest and began her professional career in Manhattan, she found her home in Maine and of course settled here. She loved Maine and became thoroughly involved, as we've heard, with the Skowhegan community and in the state, and accomplished all the many things that we have talked about today. And as I said, Maine became her home, and she left many, many legacies here. I'd like to mention one other legacy that she left, though, that's very important to us, her family. She was very concerned about women's issues and the literacy, the theater, the workplace, desperate about all of these things. But what I want to mention here is the family. A lot of us get very busy with our lives and sometimes forget that there is another part of our lives that needs nurturing and cultivating and looking at. This is the perfect group that gets very, very busy with our lives. And to cultivate and look at this, both past and present, is important. I think Marti was responding to this, as it was Marti who suggested that she and I, as sisters, and the female cousins, get together one weekend a year. Just us, just to talk, reminisce, look at family pictures, stay up all night. We usually did this in a hotel, often in Chicago, downtown Chicago. We did this, and this is continuing. My cousins, Beverly Stevens, right here from California, and Alice Hecker from Indianapolis. Here with me today is but one of the manifestations of this increased family closeness that Marti fostered in her very last years. So again, on behalf of our entire family, thank you for this great honor. We continue to miss her.
You, Crandall and Stevens, for speaking on behalf of your sister, Marti, and you, Crandall, for giving us some moments of reflection on what being in Maine has meant for people who have adopted the state of Maine as a place to live. I know that a lot of people are born in Maine and appreciate Maine, but it is nice that people who move to Maine are able to appreciate Maine and what it has to offer. I think this has been a very lovely celebration of what these two fine ladies have done for Maine. I hope that you will take a few minutes and look at the Hall of Fame, which is over here. This is the 7th year of it. There is a picture and write-up of each of the previous inductees. And on the back of your program booklet is special appreciation to those that have helped with it, the judges, and it has been made easier for me as coordinator for the program for all of the assistance I have received from many people that are here and for the many people who are helped that are not here. The past state presidents have been doing the refreshments for a number of years, and we would like each of you to stay for a few minutes. There's a punch, cake, crackers, some nibbles, things like that, and take a few minutes to visit with the honorees, have a minute to chat amongst yourselves. And again, I would like to thank each of you for coming here today to join us. If you didn't get a chance to sign the guest book, please do that. We'd like to have a record of who was here, an account for the event, and all of you have a safe drive home. Thank you very much.
Yeah.